Good evening, everyone. Give me a couple seconds. Sorry for the little delay. Take care of a few things before I can get the stream up. There we go. Links are all shared. Before we get started, I want to share a couple things that's so you guys know where some of you know where I've got some people that follow me on WordPress. So bear with me a second. Now last week I had added I guess last week or a couple weeks ago, I added a live stream broadcast. So I can those that only follow me on WordPress, you can just click on that when I'm doing a live stream. You can come here and got a chat link, so you'll be able to click on that. It'll open up a chat window on the window, so you don't have to leave WordPress. For those of you that are tuning into WordPress, you'll know when I do live because I also schedule post the actual video at the same time. Just want to get that out of the way real quick. Everywhere else, it's pretty much well. Everybody knows where to find it. But welcome, everyone. So I've been working on a few things today, getting things ready to change the leaf springs on my dad's truck. So we had to do some moving. And resituating things and getting, for those that followed some of the do-it-yourself projects I was working on last summer, we're going to be finishing up that engine hoist this week. So there's some welding that needs to be done. Now that we finally, looks like we're going to get some warmer weather, at least sunshine, I'll settle for that right now to get some of these projects done. Can't do nothing else I want to do because our field's flooded, so I can't get back to the woods, so I can't get to the lumber that I'm getting ready to mill. But I wanted to take advantage of it. Plus, that's some work I need to do on my truck. But with that said, interesting topic. Now, I haven't really touched on it, talked about it. I've touched on it a little bit here and there, time to time, nothing in depth. So, we hear the words drain the swamp. We hear people saying, well, let's drain the swamp. That was a campaign slogan, promise. And I'm all for draining the swamp to a point. To the point that maybe if some people realize what could come about, we might not be so eager. Because you gotta look at the situation. You gotta look at every little piece of the puzzle. We have corrupt politicians. Oh yeah, we got some very corrupt politicians, and I honestly agree they need to go. We need to get them removed from our government. But we're also dealing with politics. We're dealing with labels. We're dealing with a country that is divided. You know, if we go after Hillary and some of these people like Mueller, I mean, just yesterday, there was a post about Pittsburgh wanting to tell on the cops to bring their riot gear, get prepared for a riot in case Mueller gets fired. I mean, what the hell? Why would there even be a riot for something like that? We're gonna talk about that little subject a little bit later on in the video, because that's, to me, that's like propaganda. That's like psyop. That's putting it out there, trying to get people to do something to provoke a situation. And we're going to have supporters, people that support Mueller. We're going to have people that support Hillary. And we got people that don't like the president. And we've seen how the division in this country has been. We've seen after the elections, the marches, groups showing up, causing trouble, causing many riots. That's the broad picture that we have to look at. Don't think people fully grasp the consequences of what draining the swamp could lead to. And why I chose to do it on Ramblings of the Chaotic Mind is simple. I'm going to propose a scenario to you. Something that you guys should all think about. You know, we've all seen what happened in Venezuela. I'm going to give you a more recent one where it's still going on. You know, granted, a lot of people probably don't follow it, but what happened in Brazil, and still is happening to this day. They wanted to drain their swamp of corruption. They wanted to remove socialism. And they did it. They tried to do it. It ended up with military boots on the ground policing, because the police were so corrupt. Police were raiding people's houses, killing people. That's how bad it got there. That's how far the corruption went. You had drug cartels and drug lords in cities and stuff that were paying the police. Corruption wasn't just at the highest levels in their government. I have cousins that live there and family that lives there. My mom's Brazilian. So I talk to them. I hear the horror stories. I hear how even in our family there was division caused because a lot of the younger kids, a lot of my younger cousins, they supported people in office. They didn't see any wrong that they ever did. And we're looking at the same thing here. We have a younger generation that is quick to support Hillary, quick to support Bernie, that were very much anti-Trump. Well, why? Well, we had the mainstream media. It was bash after bash after bash. Then we had new movements come up, such as the alt-right, and we watched that over time splinter in a bunch of different subcategories. See the label problem? We had Republicans and Democrats at each other's throats. We do have some major important issues going on in this country. But we can't get anywhere. It's sad. Every day you turn on a news feed or you turn the TV on, you go to Twitter, Facebook, wherever you might be, and all you see is our freedoms and liberties trying to be taken away, new laws passing restricting guns. We are in a dangerous situation where if we would attempt to drain the swamp, we would have a potential, not saying would, it's a potential for civil unrest. Because everyone has their diehard favorite. Everyone supports a certain person. You're never going to believe the evidence that any of us say that is evidence. You're only going to believe what the narrative is from the mainstream news. And there is also a danger. There's corruption everywhere, and we're caught in the middle of it. But we have to also face the facts. If this would lead anywhere, because they're talking about throwing indictments out, which we all want to see. Most of us would like to see Mueller fired because thus far he's not produced nothing. I want to see evidence. I don't want to hear about behind closed door or meetings and hearings. We have the right to know. I want to know the evidence. I want to make sure you're not wasting our taxpayers' dollar on a witch hunt. All because you don't like the guy that got elected. Well, I didn't like the last guy that got elected, or the one before that. You know, I proposed a scenario a long time ago back when Trump got elected. It was one of those what ifs, because it just came up to me out of nowhere, and it was like, ah, you know, he won. Unlikely candidate won, but everything was stacked in his favor. He ran against an unelectable candidate. We all knew it. Everybody knew it. It was like it was rigged from the get-go for him to win. And I can see why they'd want that. They had another agenda in play, sort of to cause a civil unrest. Well, they succeeded by allowing him to be elected. They succeeded in causing tons of division. Why? Because this country, us, the American citizens, are sick and tired. We were sick and tired of Obamacare. We were sick and tired of the lies, the deceit, corruption. We wanted change. He was the perfect candidate for change because he threw a monkey wrench into everything. You know, he sometimes calls it before he even thinks about what he's saying. And sometimes I think that's part of his game too. You know, he's like that, like a person with a little laser pen playing with a cat. And people just jump on it every tweet after tweet. But there is tons of corruption in our government. We've got politicians, just not in Congress, but on the state level, that are trying to strip our every freedom and constitutional right away. Instead of doing what they swear on an oath when they become elected to take office, is to uphold and protect the Constitution. They're trying to destroy it. That's a problem. It's a problem when they tell people, corporations, you need to censor these platforms. No, you just violated your oath by saying that. It is free speech, freedom of expression. We have those rights. Supreme Court's ruled countless times, even on hate speech, as much as I don't like it. But I respect it. There's a difference between liking and respecting. I respect the fact that it's their right. Protected, they are protected under the Constitution. Doesn't mean I have to agree with what they're saying. It means out of respect, either voice my opinion or walk away and tune them out and don't get caught up in the game. Because they're expressing their opinions and views that differ from mine. And this is how we're so divided. We're caught up in these labels. We're Democrat, we're Republican. I'm conservative, I'm liberal, whatever. There's so many. I'm alt-right, alt-rogue, alt-light. You guys don't get what they're doing. And we want to talk about draining the swamp. We have die-hard people that adhere to these labels. That's any attempt to nip the corruption without concrete, solid evidence could be incited. These people could be incited. on either side, because it works both ways. They would impeach Trump for no reason. I mean, he has to violate the Constitution to be impeached. He has to do something that's against the law of this land. And if he ever does, I'll be the first one to say it. Just like I was one of the few people that came out when he's talked about due process and getting rid of that. No, you cannot get rid of that. If you do, you should be impeached. If you attempt it, the same thing should be just not apply to him, but to all these senators and elected officials and a state level as well. When they do something that violates the Constitution, they should be removed and charged accordingly. But when you do that, you'll have their group of followers say, oh no, that ain't right. And the way the whole media situation is, you'll have certain named so-called news outlets start spewing stuff to hype up the situation. You're adding fuel to an ever-growing fire. And personally, if something would ever pop off, they should be held accountable as well. You know, I'm all for getting rid of the corruption. We need that. It needs to happen at every level, from Congress clear down to the state level. And not just stopping in the state. It also goes in cleaning up our police department. I'm so tired of seeing good cops blamed for bad cops' decision. I'm tired of seeing bad cops protected by a union. I'm tired of seeing a double standard of law. There is no double standard of law. The law applies to everyone, rich or poor, no matter of your status, political status. You commit a crime, you should be charged with that crime and treated like no other, like anybody else, regardless of what you are. Because you're no different from that homeless person. Now, we have so many real issues. That's the part that burns me out. We get distracted, pulled away. We got our Second Amendment rights under attack. We got our First Amendment rights under attack. We've got due process issues under attack. Someone will say, well, how's that? Well, we have law. Our federal government's passed laws in the past. Or they can just put anybody on a list and call them a domestic terrorist and not tell them. That's illegal. That's unconstitutional. Don't care if you call it national security or whatnot. Person has a right to clear his name and defend himself. Now, find out by going to an airport, find out you're on the no-fly list, or who knows what you did. Now they're talking about people in a social platform, bloggers, journalists, and you know they'll go farther than that. Wanting to put them on the list who may be influencers. How am I an influencer if I'm sharing my views and opinions? You know, you want to talk about election rigging? Well, let's talk about NBC, ABC, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, all of them. When they tell that only the 15 people that have 15% popular, or whatever the percentage is in the popularity, can be on that stage, you're influencing the election, because the guy with 1% has every right to be on that stage. Everybody else. It's not who you deem. Because you know what? After hearing something that person might say, we might be more inclined to vote for him than the same idiots that keep running year after year who we don't want. But we got to curb the division. If we ever want to truly drain the swamp and curtail this corruption, we have to break free from all of these labels, including the political labels. Because you're not a Democrat, you're not a Republican, you're an American. You're a U.S. citizen. Act like it. Quit calling yourself something you're not. You're not a Democrat because a Democrat is not a nationality. It's a label. Labels divide. Labels is what allows us to pit us against each other. Because they're going to, mark my words, if they ever want to pull something off, they will use this, and we watched it take place in Brazil. We watched it take place in Venezuela. They will use this division to incite things, cause civil unrest. You know, why are they talking about having riot police for Motor? I mean, think about it. Why would they even bring that up? 90% of you could care less if he gets fired. In fact, 90% of you probably would love it if he got fired, because it's been special committee after special committee, and they've done jack. They're not in there doing the job we put them in there for. One, if it was a true committee, the committee would be neutral. It wouldn't be one-sided. It would have equal amounts of members from each side who don't have a care who the president is or who they're investigating about. Just like our media, if they were true journalists, they would have a neutral stance. They would report all sides of it. There's always two sides to a story. I think it's funny. They find a ways always to throw some distractions at us, so we get off topics. Just like when it comes to the First Amendment, Second Amendment rights, they divide us even with that. They're going after the Second Amendment and the First Amendment at the same time. Well, guess what? They're going after the Constitution. They're going after one thing: your freedoms. That's all you need to know about. We can rally for both at the same time, because they're violating the constitutional oath they took to take office when they try to strip us of these rights. Same way at the state level. We shouldn't be arguing about, well, we need to be here for the constitutional or freedom of speech rally, but we got the Second Amendment rally going on here. No, we should be equally together, rallying both, bringing up both issues at both. It's a constitutional matter. It is your very freedoms they are trying to take and strip from you. Because they're not going to stop. They're going to keep going. Why? Here's the whole danger of this internet. They knew it all along, but they never thought it'd go this far, I guess. I don't know how they would have figured that one out. Anybody with a lick of common sense would have known how this would go. Now you can't hide nothing. Now if you've ever done any dirt, done anything, if you said something 10 years ago, or you published it online, or posted or talked about it, people will find out. You know, there's no excuses anymore. And they don't like that because they can't stand up on that stage and lie to people anymore. People will call them out on their lies. Can't manipulate. So now they want to control it. Anybody that points those things out, well, guess what? You're a conspiracy theorist, or you're unsafe for the community, and what other terms and labels they want to add. We've heard them all. We need to run them down because there's too many. They want us divided. They want control. They don't want us talking about we want to clean up the corruption. It's nothing new. The corruption's been happening for years, clear back in the 80s and 90s, 70s, even 60s. You know, some of these people, and it amazes me when you're not getting distracted with all the distractions around you. I just think I've listened to some of these politicians, watch how they're what they're trying to bring to the table, pass, talk about. These guys are just, it's like they lost their mind. It's like they don't care anymore. They're not even hiding how filthy corrupt they are. They're just doing it right out open now. Most people are too caught up. Oh, this is trending. I need to go see this. And they miss all that stuff. Somebody comes around and points it out. But you'll always have a group that won't even believe it then. Let's look at the immigration debate. How explosive it is. All because one particular party refuses to put illegal in front of the immigrant. They refuse. When they talk about it, they call them an immigrant. No, they aren't a legal immigrant. They didn't come here legally. They will not use that term, illegal. So therefore, they aren't blind. And people hear that. The younger generation hears that. Well, they're telling the truth. Immigrants have certain rights. Well, no, they came here illegally. They don't. They only have one right: to have their asses deported back where they came from because they committed a crime upon crossing over illegally. We get caught up in that argument and that division. And it brings me back, why do we need cops in riot gear in Pittsburgh if Mulder gets fired? Why does that even need to be announced publicly? Oh, so you can get people to go and protest? See, guys, how it works? Nobody would have been the wiser. It wasn't announced publicly. It hasn't been pushed upon people. They pushed it for a reason. They want to announce it for a reason. They want people to show up if that would happen. They want something to pop off. They're always trying it. Sometimes it's just what it is. It's a beta test for something later down the road. See how things work. Eventually, that beta test is going to end up being a real thing. And right now, everything is primed for such a thing. That's why it's kind of important to talk about these issues, these scenarios. You know, I made my point about Cuba, and I think it's a joke. But sometimes you can find good talking points from it. And the crap that comes out of this, there was something that wasn't crap, though. If they'd ever want to do something like that, they would have to have first control over the internet so they could shut it down. So they could shut down all communication, all broadcasting, which they actually have already in place. Those that don't understand what public broadcasting service is, PBS is, it is a fail-safe to take over every network TV in case of emergency. It happened once before. It happened actually in 9/11. Public PBS took over every network. Something got reported that apparently they didn't want nobody to know about. Because, none of us ever forget that day. Many of us were glued to those TVs. And it's funny, it takes a catastrophic event to pull a nation together. From that same principle, you have so much division. They can use that to spark another event where they can strip us all of our rights. Clear martial law. And sometimes you have to wonder, is that what they're staging and setting up for? Because the American people are tired. We're tired of all this corruption in our government. We're tired of having our rights taken away, our freedoms taken away. Tired of all that. But yet, we're so divided. And that's the part that scares me about this whole draining the swamp thing. Is that if people don't realize what's happening in Venezuela, what's happening in Brazil, that could very well happen here. But on a worse scale, because we are more divided in those countries where, in many cases, we can't agree who to support. And they'll use that against us. They'll use that to pit us against each other. How many senators, governors, mayors have we heard throw the word civil war around? It's like they're pushing for this event. Some reason to push for the event is to protect their asses from being removed from office in case they was or certain people in our government would try to drain us. So they're going to do whatever they can to distract you, add fuel to the fire, to keep those hatreds going, keep you stuck to those labels. You know, in the end, it's you guys got to question everything, not just my narrative, my views and opinions. Use them to question things. Question what I'm saying. But fact, you should be questioning everything I say because I do get things wrong from time to time. I got something wrong earlier in a comment I left somewhere. Just because it's been so long since I was in the middle part of the state and traveled to PA. Although last time I traveled to PA, yeah, because I live on all the way on the northwestern corner, so to go from my house to PA and literally across the state. So basically from exit 2 of the turnpike all the way to across the state, which is about a 4-hour drive. Which I figured, certain place being where it was, it'd be about a 2-hour drive because it's about 2 hours from my place to Columbus. Which is pretty much all in the middle of the state. But I got that wrong. Now see, even I make mistakes. I'm trying to go off memory from the last time I made a trip that far. That's why it's important to have question what people say. It's also very important not to get caught up in this game of adhering to a label. You see something that you know is wrong, that group of people is doing. It's not the whole group, it's just a few. Call them out on it. Point it out to other people that have your same mindset. Look, this is what they're doing is unconstitutional. This is how we take the steps to break away from that division. Before we start calling these corrupt people out for what they are, when they violate the Constitution, they should be held accountable. They should be answerable to it. They should be removed from office, no matter who they are, and no matter what political party they adhere to. Because we have to be careful in actions that we take. One, I'll ever get fined. I would suggest don't even show up anywhere near PA. Why? They want you there. They want to cause something. And obviously, realize that what evidence has even been shown out of all of that to merit this to continue on, wasting your taxpayers' dollars, tying up these congressmen from doing the job that we put them in there. That's the catch, guys. They keep prolonging this, and it's taking them away from what they promised to be doing to begin with. Of course, you know, some of them promised to do exactly what they're doing. Next, you also got to realize there's their support base. There's the people that they're going to have rally behind them. Try to work to incite them to do something. The scenario's played out before, just not here. It's up to us to see the warning signs and not get caught up when they try to force something about, make something happen. It's on us to call it out. It's on us to have discussions like this. What is the consequences of draining the swamp? One of those consequences is the potential for civil unrest. And it is a big consequence. It's actually the number one consequence of it right now because we are so divided. We have people that are diehard supporters of Hillary Clinton, diehard supporters of the Democratic Party, diehard supporters of the Republican Party, you know, and vice versa. We can change this from drain the swamp to impeach Trump, and you could get the same results. In fact, you might get quicker results by impeaching him. That's been one of my fears this whole time that he's been in office. They try to impeach him because we've seen how people adhere to that label, make America great again. How diehard they are, convicted to that. And we all should be convicted to make America great again. You know how you make America great again? You start removing corruption from our Congress, from our federal systems, from our state systems. You don't quit taking the BS, falling for the deceptions. It's not hard to go look how they vote on certain issues, what they brought to the table. All you got to do is go to Congress.org. Every bill that's passed, every bill that's brought forward, you can see who signs it, who voted for it. You can read them. Which I'm actually shocked they haven't tried to block people from going there. On one note, this just popped in my mind and we didn't talk about. For those of you that think that VPN stuff's cool, don't go researching on government sites with the VPN. Because you could open yourself up to a FOIA investigation or be flagged because you're not using your real address. That means you're trying to hide something, which could open you up for investigation. No. I see a lot of people has been, I can't remember the name of the company they've been sponsoring, but they don't tell you that part, that you could be opening yourself up to investigation because when you go on the FBI site, CIA site, any federal site, state level site, it will show that you're kind of hiding, and that draws red flags, guys. You could open yourself up for investigations and FOIA requests, so just a heads up. Turn your VPN off when you're researching government sites and federal sites. You know, we live in such a day and age that we gotta find something to rally behind. Something that can pull us all together because consequences of staying as divided as we are makes things like talking about draining the swamp or impeaching to be very scary. It can lead to civil unrest. You know, we need to not fall in the game of supporting senators, congressmen, mayors, and governors that want to talk about civil war. Because we should know very well the history of that. You know? And we're at that point though. And we have sanctuary states that ignore the Constitution, ignore federal laws, ignore a bunch of stuff, trying to say basically that what they're saying when they do that, they're saying we're not answerable to the government. We're a separate state. We're not part of the United States. That's the danger of sanctuary cities. Among other things, it's a safe haven for corrupt people, safe haven for all types of corruption. Sanctuary cities, and the concept of it should be abolished. It's just feeding on that corruption that's already there, creating more. It's time that we start waking up. It is time. We do need change. We need corruption removed. But we got to make sure as it proceeds, if it even goes anywhere, that it's done right, where it isn't causing civil unrest. They will try. They will try their damnedest to provoke civil unrest because they know if they can push martial law, which gives them protection, which gives them control. It can be done right. We don't want to repeat history. And when I say that, we don't want to repeat what happened in other countries like Venezuela, Brazil. We don't want to see that here. We want to see change done the right way. We want to see these corrupt individuals removed. Then you got to look at it on the other side of the coin. Maybe they're going to throw a dog a bone. Here, we're going to give the people what they want, a little bit. That way they'll drop the subject. There's another side of the coin. You know? Because that's a possibility. Here, everybody talks about this. These people pretty much, they're done anyway. We'll just use them as pawns and this will go away. We can't allow it to go away. We can't allow it to just stop there either. It has to continue to where every person that's elected into office, whether it be mayor, governor, state representative, or congressman, or federal judge, is held accountable for the oath of offices that they take. They adhere to the law of the land, which is the Constitution. The Constitution is not a piece of paper you can do. They think they can do whatever they want with it. That it is the law of the land. You know? I'm all for great things. I'm all for seeing this country become great, but it's still great. It's great in many ways. Can it be better? Oh yes, much better. It can be back to what we talk about the American dream, to where that is reality instead of half promised. Now, I have issues with all the stuff we do in other countries, and we're always focused on other countries. We've got so many real issues here. We have a homeless problem. We're in the 2020. This is 2018. We shouldn't have a homeless problem. That should have been fixed in the early 2020s. You know, 20 shit, it should have been fixed in the 90s, to be honest with you. By the time we reached 2000, we should never ever be worried about homeless. Yep, we have a homeless problem that's just ridiculous. And we have other issues I'm not going to talk about because I talk about tonight because I saved a couple of things for the magazine. Because we do have a missing children problem that's downright horrific. And I did an article on that for the magazine. These are the things that they don't want us focusing on. Because when we start focusing on these things, we realize that our politicians aren't doing their job at all. Not even a little bit. We know mainstream media isn't. Because if they were, they'd be reporting on the 1,000 plus in the past year of pedophiles, sex trafficking rings, pedophile rings, human trafficking rings that have been arrested. They don't talk about that. They don't bring mention to it. It's people like me, Be Rich, Dabu, and countless other YouTubers and bloggers that bring mention to it. The very same people they want to put on a list of silence. Because they don't want you realizing that's happening here. Because if we realize that, we know that our alphabet agencies haven't been doing their job. So they give you labels to divide you. They give you trending stuff to distract you. And it gets to the point that nobody knows up from down. Who to trust, who to believe. And it just further divides us. And they start nitpicking at the Constitution, trying to take our freedoms away. While we're caught up on, oh, Trump banged a porn star. Good job. I don't care who he banged. One, didn't happen while in office. Unlike Kennedy. Oh, wait. I forgot about that, didn't they? Well documented, and he was banging people in the White House. You know, what about Bill? He got his dick sucked. Who cares? I don't care about that. That's a distraction. What a person does in and out of the bedroom is their own damn business. Yes, to some people that's immoral. To others, that's perfectly fine. Ah, damn, right there. Once more, something to pit us against each other. Something to cause division. When truthfully, probably should be none of our damn business. What another person does in their home. Or outside their home, as long as they're not hurting anybody. As long as they're keeping the promises they made. You know, just like I've seen another push for the division with the Syria thing. And I was kind of happy to see that, though. I don't know if it's just a guilty pleasure, seeing people actually stand up and not adhere to a label. That kind of made me happy. But at the same token, though, yes, I would have loved to see the evidence, but I know how that works. By the time we get people over there to find the evidence, it's gone. Or we find the evidence, but where the chemicals are stored are no longer stored there, so we bomb the shit out of them, and guess what? They still have the chemicals. When it comes to something like that, something that's potentially horrific, I believe action should be taken immediately. If we're wrong, then we should be accountable. Stand up and admit we were wrong. Because we can never let what happened during World War II, the Holocaust, ever happen again in this country for any form of genocide. Now, that's being human. I would have loved, hey, concrete evidence. But by the time you get that concrete evidence, guess what? All those targets were going to bomb. Hell, we probably didn't get the chemical weapons. And 6 months, 7 months down the road, hey, it gets used again. Or maybe not. Maybe it was just what they said. It comes back to weighing the risk. But if it was real, and if we wait, and truthfully, my personal opinion on that, because it wasn't acted upon decisively because Trump decided to tweet about it, he gave them time to move it anyway, so mistake. But I love how that whole scenario, did Israel get blamed? Did everybody jump on Israel for bombing Syria 3 days before we did? Did anybody blame Britain and France? Oh no, it was the US. The US did it. People forget it was a joint effort. They're just as much to blame as we are. But I thought it was funny. This is the part people missed. It made me question a few things as well as why. Why do we have countries we don't get along with, countries that Trump can't even go to? They don't want him there. Like Britain, but yet they wanted to do a military strike with us. Like Canada, the trade issues and stuff, bickering back and forth. But yet they were on board. The UN and NATO approved of it. What worries me about all that? Simple. The other picture to anything is they want a world war. One thing we've learned throughout our world wars generate money. They do. What don't generate money is non-world wars. They take from the coffers. They deplete things. Vietnam didn't make no money. In fact, Vietnam, Korea, and all of them didn't make any money. Iraq, because we were burning off our surplus from World War II. Guess what? Surplus has been burned off. No country makes any money on individual wars that just fester. They don't make money unless it's a world event where we need people working, producing ammo, building equipment. That's when money is generated and made in a world war. Not so much in something that's only going to last a couple months, 6 months, a year. Of course, we could say we've been in Iraq for how long? And between Iraq and Afghanistan for how long? Why do I bring this up? Because it's the other issue that does divide us. I'm more inclined. I don't care what these other countries do. We need to mind our own business for once. In fact, next time the UN calls, says, hey, we want you to bomb those people. We want you to be the spear point. How much are you paying us? Instead of us paying them for it to be a part of it, you should be paying us to use our military if you want to use it. Other than that, we're done being the police. We've got our own problems. If every country would take this to note and worry about themselves and fixing the issues they have in their own country, the world would probably be a better place. With that said, I'm not saying ignore genocides. Ignore types of events like that. Because that should never ever happen. But yet, it is happening. Nobody talks about what's happening in South Africa and Africa. Don't be white right now and be there. nobody wants to talk about except for a few people. I've got a friend that lives there that's trying like hell to get out of there. You know, because subject to get killed. Why? Because yes, he's South African, but he's white. But they don't want us talking about that either. So it's racism at its finest, another form of division that they constantly divide us. Instead of you're an African and South African. It doesn't matter what your color of your skin is. You're South African, African. You're an American. You're not black, white, Hispanic, whatever gender, equality, nationality that you want to claim yourself. You're a U.S. citizen, therefore you're an American. Rally behind that. Don't let them keep tricking you and just dividing yourself. This ain't the 60s and 50s and 40s. By letting them do that, you're dooming yourself to potentially repeat history again. You're an American. That's how I see you. Or you're visiting, you're on a visa, you're a tourist. That's how I see you. You're a human being. I don't see you your color, your skin. But we have to have a label. We have to check white, black, other, Hispanic, Asian. And just like, I don't much care what your gender is. You're male or female. Pick one. Don't care. I have my own opinions on it. One, by simple, you can't change your DNA. But if you wish to be something else, fine, be that. I'll respect that. But don't take it any farther than that. Say, well, we need universal path. No, you don't. We have a pedophile problem here. We have perverts here. Might I point you to Illinois, I believe? It was Illinois or Minnesota. It's one of those two, where they implemented the universal bathrooms. And sure enough, right after implementation, somebody got raped. That's why we should not have universal bathrooms. But hey, you want to pay for the operations, remove your junk, then by all means, go settle with women's toilet. As long as you got that equipment between your legs, use the men's restroom. It's common sense. But all these things, they find a way to divide us. We talk about draining the swamp. I mean, hopefully, maybe they're just going to throw us a bone. Here, we're going to do something about these people. Now drop it. And a lot of people will drop it. They'll ignore the rest of the corruption that's going on. And it'll be a distraction, public event that will distract us from how many other things that's going on. Like I said, there's more on one side of the coin, more in one scenario how things can play out. That's the importance of questioning these things, talking about them. Because I'd rather see it be a distraction than civil unrest. Two very different scenarios there. But unfortunately, the other scenario is it's their hopes that we'll watch this, follow this, just be distracted from everything else. Who knows what they'll try to do in the meantime while we're distracted. And whatever comes about it, they hope that their hope is that we drop the subject. No, we cannot drop the subject because there's too much corruption. We've had too many politicians violate their oath. We've had too many elected officials go in there and try to strip you of your constitutional rights. which is a violation of the oath they take to serve that position. They need to be removed. In fact, personally, they need to be charged for treason. Once you start doing that, showing that nobody's above the law, it'll make the next person less likely to do it. Because people are going to be held accountable. People are watching, making sure they are held accountable. And that's what it needs to be. No matter what, even the president himself, he is not off limits to this. If he does something that violates the Constitution, then yes, he should be impeached. But at the same token, we have Supreme Court justices who don't uphold the Constitution either. And maybe it's time that we go against what my forefathers said and fix it so that ain't a life position. Also, guess what my forefathers said? Trying to put term limits on these congressmen. But let's go talk about that for a second, because it is part of draining the swamp. We have a problem with Common Core, what our younger generations have been taught. They don't know all their history. Eventually, we put term limits on people. Guess what? That youth is going to be the future politicians. And if they don't value the Constitution right now, imagine what will happen when they're allowed to take office. Just like how many people are paying attention to what's being talked about? Talking about allowing 16-year-olds to vote. But yet, they want it so you're 21 before you can even buy a gun. They pushed that narrative so hard after the school shooting that now they're wanting those youths to be able to vote when they're missing at 16 a lot of history that's taught in high school. And that's something that will cause an argument between us, cause us to further yet divide us. It'll cause dissension in our families because, hey, to a 16-year-old, the idea that he can drive and now vote, he's going to want those things. But yet he's not an adult till he turns 18. And wait, he can't buy a gun until he's 21 in some states. How are you an adult if you can't even own a gun? Oh, wait, it's because he can serve. He can become a cop. I don't think any of our politicians value the Constitution. Only when it comes to campaign, when it comes to time for re-election. Which, the other thought about this, guys, we're coming up on midterms. Don't expect Congress to do anything when it comes to the Second Amendment. Not till after midterms. In fact, I won't even say they do anything there. They're going to wait. They're going to let all the states do the dirty work for them. Which is happening every week. We hear another state. Vermont, Utah, Illinois has already had tough gun laws. Connecticut, Maine, Florida. I mean, when will the madness stop? When will they realize you can't infringe on our constitutional rights? You can't take them away. Well, they can, as long as we're divided. As long as we can't agree on things. Because the day we make that attempt to drain that little swamp, day they're going to try to cause something to happen. They're going to try to get pushed for that civil unrest. Maybe this motor thing. Like, I don't know. I seen that yesterday, and it was like an oddball. It's like, why? Makes sense though. You can get something to pop off and further divide this country. It's for their betterment, not ours. That's what you guys don't get. When we're divided, it's not in our favor. It benefits them, the corrupt ones. Those are the ones that benefit from a country divided. Because they can take your rights and liberties and your freedoms. Because you're not united, and you can't remove them from office by voting them out. You can't peacefully protest because there'll be a counter protest that will want to be violent. We all know countless stories of those groups. Anybody that's done the research into it will find there's Craigslist ads posted, pinging people to go protest. Wonder how many anybody done the research on that yet? About Pittsburgh? Of course, Mueller would have to be fired first. But I really don't see that, but hey, anything's possible. Me personally, he needs to go. He needs to go or produce real evidence. Not evidence that's been talked about behind closed doors. I remember when a dick. I don't remember. I remember reading history about the day that, you guys do realize in Congress since its session, at least it used to be in the 90s, maybe you could, you used to be able to go up on the top balcony and sit and watch the proceedings in Congress. It was always open to the public. People could watch what was taking place. There was no behind closed doors. I'm sure all that changed in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Definitely today. We see it all the time. Our founders never intended for anything to be hidden behind closed doors. It was to be done open in front of the public. It was sort of the checks and balances, much like going to congress.gov, going to whitehouse.gov, check on the executive orders and stuff. It's a checks and balances, checks and measures for you to see what's going on, be able to read what's being talked about. I don't know how many of you actually know you can actually watch the live video from open sessions on the floor from congress.gov. The only thing you can't watch is what's done behind closed doors. Shouldn't be. I mean, I agree that some things might be national security, but not everything is national security. Because if everything's national security, then we have a problem. Because that means we don't know what our government's doing. That's some of the issues anyway. You get this closed door stuff, and you'll have somebody come out and talk about something or hint at something. We don't have no real evidence that was even what they talked about. It could be them just adding fuel to the fire or playing the political label game, trying to incite their followers. That's what you are when you adhere to a label. You're a follower of that label. You are that label. Except for You're not, because you're not the elected official. You just follow them. You vote for them every time. Many people won't even change that narrative, no matter who the person is. It could be a rhino that's trying to take your rights 100 different times. You'll still vote for that person. If you refuse to vote for the other party, or you refuse to vote for somebody that wants to come in there and protect your Constitution, that wants to protect your rights, but because they're not of that label, you won't vote for them. You won't even listen to them. And there's the huge problem. So we can talk about draining the swamp all we want until we break ourselves free of these labels, break ourselves free of this political game that they keep running, start voting for people that have our interests, that want to truly represent us, respect our Constitution, honor the oath that they take. Those are the people we should be putting into office, not the label. Until you guys wake up to that fact, draining the swamp can be a very dangerous thing because we're so divided. Because you can look at it this way: you have left and you have right, you have blue and red. Let's drain the swamp. You just drew a line. You're either red or blue. Because in most cases, the people that we talk that are talked about fall on one side of that line. Guess what? They have their diehard voters. They have their followers. It's like the other side. We talk about impeachment. You see the line that's been drawn? You see the danger? You see how easy it is to cause an event, cause civil unrest? You know, that I've been real with you. I'm all for removing the corruption. Can we do it right now and avoid civil unrest? That's the question you have to ask yourselves. Or we could hope for the other side of the coin that you're just throwing a dog a bone, hoping to draw our attention all the way over here and maybe convict a couple and the matter will go away. That's a possibility too. Unfortunately, if that's their game, it's a crappy game. And we need to be even more vigilant because we don't want it to stop there. It can't stop there. Because if it stops there, if people fall for that, you're going to keep coming after your freedoms and rights and liberties. In fact, they'll probably come after them even harder than they might do it while you're distracted with that. These are all the things you need to think about. These are the consequences of draining the swamp. And guess what? Some of these consequences have played out in places like Venezuela, playing out to this day, even in Brazil. So imagine that playing out here in U.S. soil, where we have such division. Yeah, we have a problem that don't have easy answers. I love how they want to say civil war, when in fact it wouldn't be a civil war. It might start off as one, it would turn into a revolutionary war. And I think that's what they fear the most. Why the push for the guns? Why the push for censorship? Because they know Everything's out there now. People have been pointing it out, talking about. People are actually waking up to it. Yes, Trump was the one that screamed fake news, fake news, fake news. Guess what? People started paying attention, started seeing it. Well, that's just not quite right. They started questioning. Like I said, like the man, hate the man. He caught it. I mean, hey, if I was an elitist, world fucking whatever you want to call those guys, that would have been my man. I would have pushed for that scenario. Let's put him. Let's make sure he wins because he's going to cause all this chaos and division. He's going to tear, divide, clear across them, and we push it just right, play it just right. We might be able to provoke something into taking place. We'll be able to step in and be the, that's right, knights in white, shining armor. So sick. They'll latch on to anybody that's offering them an escape. Like I said, we can talk about Dragon the Swamp. There's many, many scenarios that can play out. If you want to talk about elites, New World Order, or whatever, yeah, I think they don't got their hands in it. But and again, who are them? I also will say the George Soros, the Bilderberg, they're all puppets meant for distractions. George Soros an elitist? Oh yes, he is. Is he the really guy? Really the one pulling the strings? No, but he's pulling his strings. That's the problem. You never know who the person is. That person could actually be sitting right next to you. You wouldn't even know it because they'll never reveal themselves. They'll give you plenty of distractions, plenty of breadcrumbs to go chasing after. Why? They want you scattered all the time. They want that division. That's how they win every time. That's how they implement their agendas. Something for you guys to think about. Something for you to start questioning things. Because you do need to. Topics like this, yes, they're fun. For me, they are. Talking about these things are fun. Because the more you talk about them, the more you run the scenarios, the more you see, the more possibilities of things. But guess what? By doing so, you're also making yourselves aware. You're making others aware of the possibilities. That's the good thing. Because the more aware we are about our things, the more we question the things, the more we can see things. We can start seeing some of those pitfalls that they throw at us, some of those little triggers that they put there, or those breadcrumbs that they set there. We know that we see them for what they are. But you can't do that when you're not questioning. You can't do that when you're adhering to a label. Maybe one day I'll just do a video on labels. I don't know how I'll do it because we label ourselves so many ways. There's a label. We have a label for everything, and we find that little label that fits us. And we adhere to it. And the only thing that keeps us from breaking away most of the time is fear. Fear of the things we've been taught. That's for another night, or maybe a magazine issue. I don't know. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you on the next one. I'll catch you guys later. You guys all have a safe rest to your week and a safe weekend.